Get strong.
That. So, but I want to welcome you to today, welcome you to this episode. Um, I am Dr. David Glover. I am the founder of Spiritual Fine Arts and Deliverance Development. And my job, I have been tasked, it is my passion, I love to do it, is to develop persons' spiritual gifts. And when we talk about giftings, and we're not talking about particularly um, church only, church gifts, as some people label them, are just simply that, gifts. They are gifts that they should not only be used in the church, but they should use all day long, every day. So, but we want to talk about something that inhibits our gifts, something that stops our progress, something that stops our our fruitfulness, our bounty, and that is fear. And we just want to have a conversation, and I always open it up for you to speak back to me, tell me hello, tell me hi, have dialogue with me, check in with me, tell me you enjoy it, or hey, I disagree with that point, or tell me more about that point. I enjoy engagement. That's what we're here for. We learn from one another. So I always want to make sure that you have a sense of engagement, that this is a conversation. I may be the head of it, I may be facilitating it, but I want to hear your voice, okay? So let's just dive right on in. Let's just dive right on in. So, fear, as we know, it is a primitive. It's primitive to our nature. It's something that all of us have. We're born with these emotions, and they have a wide range. They have an array. They have variances. They have different intensities, and some of us are predisposed to higher levels or lower levels. But we all come to Earth with this range of emotion, and it includes fear. And I think a lot of times, because we give fear, the word fear, such a usual negative connotation, we think sometimes the worst, or we think badly in regards when someone uses the word fear, when they talk about fear or phobia. The psychological word or scientific word for fear is phobia. So you may hear me interchange that, or you may hear me, it means the same thing. Those are synonyms. And so when we talk about fear, we're talking about an emotion, a human emotion that's very powerful, but it's natural. It's innate in us. It's in our creative being. It's who we. It's a part of our makeup, and we can't erase it. We can't get rid of this emotion, but we definitely can manage it. We can be able to understand it and recognize it and acknowledge it, and then harness its energy. Okay, so the very first thing is to recognize that we all have fear. No one is born without fear. No one, so you have a fear of something. Some people have irrational fears, but fear is a part of everyone. So you know, whether you have fear of snakes, fear of heights, fear of darkness, fear of the unknown, fear of possibility, fear of success. I mean, the list can go on and on. As I was doing my research and pulling up different things about fear, from studying, there was countless. There was nothing. I mean, there was some very uncommon fears, and very common fears. You know, fear of death, fear of failure. All those are very common. But then you had fear of dirt, fear of names, fear. I mean, there was all, and if you could think of it, there was a fear for it. It's basically how they, basically. So there is an innumerable amount of phobias that happen. Well, what we want to hone in on is the fear that cuts off and stifles our growth, our patterns of behavior, our progress, who we are, where we're going, what we're doing, what we're on our way. We have somewhere to go. We have something to do, and fear can be a detriment. Fear can be a stoppage to what we have, to our inheritance, to our destiny. Fear can prolong us in areas that we are actually unsafe in. We don't even feel comfortable in, but because of fear of the unknown, because fear of what we don't know is going to happen, we allow ourselves to stay stuck, to stay stifled, to stay um, um, encaged in fear so that we are not growing, we are not abounding, we are not moving forward. And our growth pattern is supposed to be at one pace and one level, and it may not be measured to the next person, but most certainly there should be marketed growth. There should be something that you can look back to and see I'm not in the same place. Well, one of the things that fear does is stops that. Okay. Now, fear in itself is not bad of itself. Okay. Again, as I said, it is innate. It is something that we all have, but it is to be managed. It is to be honed. Actually, fear can be a contributor to your success. Fear can contribute to your success if you know how to overcome it, if you know how to actually use its energy, because emotions connote energy. Emotions start energy, whether in a good direction or bad direction. And when you think about fear, promotes flight or fight, right? We all learned that in school, but that is an energy, and however you're wired or predisposed is whether you will flee or you will stand there and fight. But you need to be able to learn how to use that energy, channel that energy, and use it to abound and to conquer and to succeed and to move forward and to conquer. You see, so even as an actor, a singer, a performer, you may actually have a sense of fear of failure, fear of not hitting your right notes, not remembering your lines, of stumbling, even sitting on this platform. There's a fear that you won't convey the correct message, that people won't understand you, they won't get you. All of these fears in performance happens, but you have to be able to channel that fear and say, this is what I am, this is my purpose, this is who I am, this is what I'm called to do, this is my passion, this is what I love to do, this is when I wake up with this in mind. I know this is something that I'm doing, and I may not be the best person, but I'm the best me that I am right now. Right? I know who I am. I may even be on a journey of discovering all of who I am, but I know that this is what I do. So you take that fear and you turn it into your energy. And so we're going to talk about that, of how you can allow fear to drive and propel you versus stop you or decrease you and cause you to move backward and retreat. You need to make sure that you are allowing that energy, that fear, that emotion of fear when it presents itself to say, okay, this is how I'm going to remold and reshape and rewrite what the purpose of fear in this instance is supposed to do. This was meant for my damaging, but I'm going to use it for my honing, for my promise, for my ascertaining of what I am to have, to be, to get, to receive, right? So in that, we find out that if you leave fear unchecked, if you leave fear without resolve and without overcoming, you will find that it becomes symptomatic of things of like ulcers, of things of like stroke, of high blood pressure, of heart attack. All these things, fear, heart palpitations, and heart murmurs, and all of these migraine headaches because of fear of I don't know how I'm gonna pay my rent, of how and they can be very valid fears. Not all fears are irrational. Not all fears um, come without causation. That there are some very real traumas that promote fear, traumas that our fear arises from. But you have to be able to overcome them in order to rise to who you are, to be able to stretch out into where you're supposed to be, the people you're supposed to touch, your sphere that you're supposed to influence, your tribe that should be following you. You have to be intrepid, you have to be bold, you have to be courageous, and that means overcoming that fear. That means taking the energy that fear wishes to bind you with and beat fear with fear, with the energy from fear, right? Take that energy, that momentum that would stifle you, and turn it into the energy that propels you. Okay, so one of the first ways that we want to talk about is some of the causes. And as I touched on some of them already, whether it was fear that arose from childhood trauma, that arose from different episodes in your life, different events in your life that caused the advent of fear to come, where your mother may have scared you, or you experienced something with a snake, and so now you have a fear of snakes, or you have a fear of heights because you saw something happen, or you know what I'm saying? All these different traumas. Trauma can be a base from which fear arises, from which fear rises and comes into. And it is a valid fear. You are not a bad person. You are not less of a person. You are not, it makes you normal. It makes you human. But as I said, fear is an innate emotion. It is something that as you were born, you had fear. So you have to understand and recognize your humanity. Recognize that you are frailty. You are human. You are not all divine. You have all of you here, and some of you includes the propensity to have fear, and you will fear. But then how do you arise from fear? So the very first thing is that you have to recognize that you can be afraid, that there can be fear. But then how do you deal with it? Some of us are afraid of future events, things that have not happened, things that you can see the handwriting on the wall, as some people say, or you may see things coming down the road, or you may not know what's coming down the road. The fear of the complete unknown, like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know the outcome. I don't know how this is going to turn out, can cause fear, and it is valid. Now, we can allow that valid fear to turn to irrational fear, where we start creating a world, a scenario, an end that has not happened. And I have been, I'm very guilty of this. Raise both my hands. Has anybody ever had this as well? Where you just wake up. Somebody, I get a call from. It definitely happened at work. I get a call from the boss, or I get an email, and it seems like, hey, did you do this? And in my mind, it's like, oh my God, did I forget to do this? Did I not forget to do this? And all of a sudden, my mind starts making this scenario. By the end of the story, I'm living in the streets, destitute because I got fired because this one went awry and blah blah. And I'm an excellent worker. I know this. I've gotten awards for employee of the year. I've gotten them several times, so I know that. But my fear that could have started as a valid fear, I left it unchecked, and before I knew it, I was irrational. I couldn't be handled. I couldn't. Everything was unraveling in front of me, and it was very untrue. I'll never forget. I was on my knees praying. And I was crying, and I was praying, crying out to God. This is years ago, and I was, oh God, this is happening, and that is happening, and this is happening. And I mean, I was going. I was in English and in tongues. I want you to hear it in my natural English native tongue speech, and I wanted you to hear it, oh God, in my heavenly language. I wanted you to let the angels descend to fix this, and I don't know how to do this, and I don't know what's happening, and I'm so scared, and I need your love, and I need your power, and I need your. I mean, I was going. I mean, going. And the Spirit spoke to me, literally like tapped me on my shoulders while I'm in good prayer. I mean, I'm crying, I'm snotting, I'm ugly, I'm in the privacy of my own home, my room, and a tap of the Holy Spirit. Sir, what you're praying about is fully irrational. Now that's what was spoken to me. Now I got offended. What do you mean it's irrational? What you're praying about is fully irrational. I had allowed my energy, my emotions, the fear to promote me to drive, even in prayer, in my area of belief, in my area of, I can go to God in prayer and basically spin my wheels wasting time on something that has not happened nor was on its way to happen. It was fully irrational, but I had allowed myself to build this whole story, build this whole scenario, and for naught. And so the Spirit did not come and say, it will be all right, I'm going to work. No, I need you to understand that you're allowing what you see or think you see or imagine Your imagination is definitely getting the best of you. On your knees praying, but I need you to get up or pray about something different because this is a waste. Isn't that interesting? Now, mind you, I had a good relationship with God, so I thought, but it was good enough that He was able to check me and say, you need to check your emotions and not waste my time down here on your knees, praying about something that is completely fabricated of your own fear. Okay? So, imagined events. A lot of us, well, you know how they some people get so hysterical, and so in the movies a lot, you'll see them where they'll even slap them because they got to bring them back because they have allowed their fear to literally encage their mind and send them on a vacation out of reality, sent them fully paid, all expenses paid, into another dismal world that is not happening. And so the only way to bring them back to reality was to slap them. But that's how a lot of us operate. That's how a lot of us allow our fear to get us. That's how a lot of us allow circumstances when they seem like they're going to go away or when they seem like they are going awry to take us out of character, take us out of what we need to do. So the first way that we need to overcome fear is number one. I've already given it to you, is to acknowledge your fear. Now I said that there was going to be four, but I have some bonus ones. I'm so kind. I'm so good. Thank you. Thank you. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. The first way is acknowledging that fear is a part of you, that fear is happening, that this is how I feel. But then allow yourself. One of the things that we've learned, even in psychology, is most people, especially when they're going to suicide ideations or when they're going through traumas, is a lot of times they'll let their mind keep wandering. And you are the controller of your mind. You are the control. Touch your mind. Touch your head. Touch your head. I know that this is not church, and I don't want you to touch your neighbor. I've never been a real touch your neighbor person, but touch your head. And say, I control my mind. Only you can control your mind. Only you can control your mind. Only you. You have control of your mind. And you can literally feel yourself as you're spiraling out of control, as you are letting your thoughts go awry. And so you need to learn how to get your mind as it starts. You stop it and interrupt it with another thought that brings it back into subjection, that brings it back into your reality, or bring it back into reality. In fact, the Bible actually says, finally, my brother, whatsoever things are good report, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are, it has a whole list. And then when it gets down to the end, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on those things. That means you got to take control of your mind. You have to go and get your mind. Sometimes your mind wants to wallow and wants to, I will not. I will go and get my mind. Even if I have to get an accountability partner to say, hey, this was a bad day. I need you to call me. It's 6 o'clock right now. At 7:30, call me. And so it can interrupt my mind, because sometimes we can get lost in our own mind. And so I may need to take a moment, and I want to wallow and I want to, think badly, but some things are so heavy. But I do need somebody to be able to pull me, to allow them to pull me if I can't pull myself. If I'm not strong enough, if this is too much, because sometimes it does get too much, and he who is strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak. So I need to find somebody, and that's actually another way is to have an accountability partner, is to build and develop healthy relationships. That's part of that. I'm gonna come back to that because there's more to the healthy relationship. Number one, you have to acknowledge. Number two, you have to take control of your mind, take control of your thoughts, take control. You can take control of your thoughts. And if you cannot, then you definitely need to seek professional help. There is nothing wrong. I encourage it. And can I put a caveat right there, because I am a mental health professional? You need to be able to seek therapy and therapists and psychologists and all those counselors and coaches when things are fine. It is a misnomer to think that you only need to see them when something has gone awry. No, a lot of times, 80% of the problems could have been less impacted or affected or mitigated if you have been in a constant pattern of seeing a professional so that they are able to say, hey, I see a pattern. I see something. I'm on the outside looking in and I'm hearing your testimony. And as their professional training has given them, they're able to see the places you can't see. They can identify and ID behavior patterns that you may not be able to identify. Now, I say find a good one, get some recommendations because some people just want to medicate you. That's not always the case. That's not always the case. And medication should be aligned with also growing you. It should not be the first and final answer to all problems. It should come along with the side of getting you to where you need. So my mother went to go see one. I hope she doesn't mind. She's not on YouTube or Facebook. Anyway, my mother, when my grandmother died, they gave her some medication, but it was only just for that, just because she needed to calm down the stress. She had taken care of my grandmother for 25 years, or I don't know if it's 25, but I know about 20 years. And so the separation, she watched my grandmother go through that whole thing with Alzheimer's and all of that and diabetes and all of that. And so, but when the time of separation, the day that my grandmother transitioned, my mother it was overwhelming for her. So they gave her medication, but that medication was not to be perpetual. It was not to be always. There needs to be some therapy, some coping mechanism that is beyond medicine, prescription, or drugs and alcohol or sex. And sometimes we get into relationships because we're hiding behind something else. There's another fear standing in the way, and the symptoms is something different. So we need to find the causation, find the root, as the old says, lay the axe at the root. The root, I think they used to say the root, the old saying. So, but we need to be able to explore those and seek professional help. Seek what you need. Get what you need. You only can be as good as those who are around you, who you surround yourself with. So that means if I am surrounding myself with people who are negative, I can never expect myself to remain in a positive position or mind frame. If the people around me always doubt and they never have faith and they never believe that we can do it or that we can go further, then I will be a total sum of those people around me. In fact, I think the adage is you are the total sum of the five closest people or the people you spend the most time with, the five people around you. So look at that, evaluate that. This, and it's not a strike against anybody. This is your life. This is you. This is your destiny. You only have one life to live. Live the best one. Be the best person. Do the right things that you want to do for yourself, for the good of you and those that are around you. Protect them as you protect yourself. Okay? Understand that you have everything you need. Another way to overcome it is to understand that if life has allowed you to come to this circumstance, it means that I have the resilience to overcome it. I have everything I need inside of me. 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 I have the great one inside me. That means that I can do all things, Philippians 4:19. I can do all things through Christ that strengtheneth me. I can overcome. I can achieve. I don't have to succumb to any circumstance. I can be triumphant, but I have to keep reminding myself. Grab my mind when those feelings of inferiority, of loneliness, those feelings of fear, of failure, fear of isolation, I can do it. I can go out. I can, and it may take a while. You may have to keep on saying it. It may have to be a mantra. If you got to get an easel, I have an easel with things on it that says, I don't know if I can reach it. Okay, it's stuck on the thing. But if you can see, you can't read it, but I have an easel that sits right there. And so every morning I so choose, when I wake up, I have my mantra, whatever I want, I need, or have to say to myself, or need to repeat out loud. I have it here, and it has helped me because you just never know what fear looks like on the next person. You think they're the most confident person, and they are struggling worse than you are. You never know. So you have to do the things that allow you to succeed, to soar. You have to not allow fear to become your gravesite. Do not allow fear to shut your mouth. Do not allow fear to be your final resting place. But you have to feed yourself what you need so that you can have the strength to overcome fear. Okay? You have to be the owner of your own thoughts. You have to own your thoughts. If you felt ruddy today, what did you do in your mind to change how you felt? Evaluate. Did I do all the things that I could have done mentally? Because 90% of the battle is in your mind. 90% of the victory is in your mind. Because there are plenty of people who the rest of the world sees has lost, and in their mind they're winners, and they have no problem. They don't have the stresses we have because in their mind they've won. I often think about people who we call mentally autistic or mentally challenged or deranged or however, and they seem to be happy and they seem to be going along, and so it's like they're crazy. Well, maybe we're crazy. Perhaps we're crazy. We're the ones still struggling. They go along, do what they got to do, blah, blah, blah. They're smiling. They're not worried about everything. They don't have a lot of cares. They seem to not have a lot of cares. They seem to be go lucky. They seem to be just fine. We're the ones as normal people that are saturated and inundated with what we need to do and what we don't have and trying to aspire more. And there's nothing wrong with that. But just evaluate how are your perspective of yourself, of what you're doing, of how you're doing. You are the owner of it. No one can make you feel any way unless you allow them. Take ownership of it. Be the proprietor of your day. It was given to you. This day was handed to you. Seize the moment to make the best of it, not to let fear outdrive your progress, impede your progress. Move forward. Okay? Intimidation. Do not measure yourself with somebody else's story. Do not measure yourself with somebody else's story. That's not your story. And they never have given you all of their story. There are some finer details. They gave you highlighted points at best. Even if you're standing right there, even if you laying right there with them every night, you don't have any. You have there's so many stories out there of how people been married for 20, 30 years, and it's like I never knew this about you. I never had this discovery because you don't still have all of their story. You still don't have all of the inner workings of them. So don't ever compare yourself with somebody else's story. However long it took them, however far they've gotten, however advanced they may seem to be. You are only in competition with yourself. You are only measuring yourself against your own destiny. You are only concerned with your own progress and journey. Do not let fear with intimidation of somebody else moving forward. And I should have been, okay, that's fine. The truth is, knowing that that's where you believe you should have been is not going to change where you are. So let's work. What do I need to do to get there? What do I need to change so that when I'm looking back next year, I'm not saying I should have been? Or do I just need to change my perspective and say, look where I've come from since last year, since 6 months ago, 5 years ago. Look what I have accomplished. I had the same thing happen to me. I'm just like, oh God, I should have been this. I should have had that. I don't have this. I don't have that. And a friend of mine was like, but that's real asinine of you because you just gonna act like you ain't haven't done this, that. Wrote a book. It's gotten an award. You've gotten a master's degree. You've gotten a doctorate degree. It's all this catalog of lists of my accomplishments. But because you have a couple that's not there, I'm never going. You start again exaggerating and aggrandizing the negative instead of sitting on the positive. Mind you, my crux that I love in psychology is positive psychology. It's called positive psychology. Appreciative inquiry. Looking at what the good things and looking at the positive and being light. But it becomes real hard. It becomes real difficult. I'm telling you, it becomes difficult. But I want you to be able to apply that. That means release all the negative baggage, negative energy, negative people. Surround yourself with people, with an environment that moves you and propels you forward, right? Be able to be the owner of your thoughts. When you feel it going out of control, grab it. Interject a new thought and new thought line. Okay? Know that you have everything inside of you to accomplish everything you need to do. You have everything inside of you to accomplish everything you need to do and to counteract intimidation with your messages of faith, with your positive affirmations, with your energies that says, I can, I will, I shall. Hope you enjoyed this. Please like and share. I am Dr. David Glover again. I enjoyed this conversation with you all, and I look to see you next week.